Living and breathing La Vida Boa. Welcome to the Boa Life Podcast. I'm your host, Stephen DeMora, alongside host Nick Colhay. We're here to have conversations that'll change and shape our lives, talking to people of like mind, sharing experiences and stories.
What's up, everybody? I'm your co-host, Nick Colhay. This is the Boa Life Podcast, episode 26. Ready to do this, Steve?
Let's go. That was like real business-like.
Because we got a business-like minded folk guy here tonight.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's rock and roll. What do you say?
Let's do this. It's going to be a very serious and interesting conversation. We're talking to a gentleman.
Not too serious.
Well, we're never going to get too serious on this podcast.
We've welcomed the mortgage master here tonight.
Nice.
Mortgage master Mascolo. Johnny Mascolo. Welcome to the podcast.
How you doing, Nick? That was quite the
Hey, man, nothing but the best, you know?
the intro. I appreciate it.
You've been a friend for 10 plus years now, so I'm
true.
proud to have you here. And obviously, you know Steve pretty well. You
Yeah.
guys do business together.
Steve, through various things.
We do pleasure. You do business with my
done
co-host.
business before.
We've
too.
done pleasure as well. We know each other on a personal and a pleasurable level, whatever that means.
So yeah, we wanted to get you on. We wanted to have the audience hear about your journey in life and talk about the Boa life.
Yeah.
So why don't you give everyone a heads up? What do you do?
All right. So I have been a residential loan officer for the last 15 years. The first 11 years of my career, I worked at a local bank, Fairfield County Bank. And then for the last 3 years, I've been a mortgage banker at Fairway Independent Mortgage. Just recently opened an office in Ridgefield about almost a year ago.
Nice. How you liking it?
Great. It's nice. Hired a couple guys that I'm managing. So Fairway's been a great company to me. I've had the most growth in the last 2 years. So it's everything I could have asked for.
Yeah, and managing a career. I know you and I both have 3 lovely kids around the same age. What is it like? Is it a circus? How are you managing all these things?
I think just, especially the last couple of years, we just had our third last year, just like leaning into the chaos. So, just had a kid, business probably 2021 was probably the busiest I've been, like a lot of other people. And then just deciding to, let's just run a marathon as well. So just leaning into the chaos, it always keeps me occupied. So I just enjoy it, enjoy the chaos.
That's like the only way to really do it, like because you have no choice, right?
Exactly.
You and your wife decide to have kids, and you can't just let them run wild. So lean right in.
Yeah.
What do you mean by lean in? You just like accept every day as it comes, no matter, like no pressure, just go with the flow type of thing?
Well, I always try to be a positive person. So like leaning in, just kind of taking everything in, enjoying it as much as you can. There's serious business to be done in what we do. But just having fun with it, staying positive. This is the life I have, so I might as well enjoy it as much as I can. In business, it really it's contagious. People catch on to that. So in my everyday conversations with customers, with family, friends, just trying to keep that positive attitude, and it really shows.
How'd you get into banking?
So my father has actually been in the mortgage business for like 45 plus years. He kind of stumbled into it. And I saw growing up kind of part of, what life's all about. So he was in this business. I didn't know what a mortgage even was growing up, but I saw that he never missed one of our sporting events. He never, he was always around, but he worked hard. So I was like, it's kind of, I like that. That's what I want to do. I want to be able to, work as hard as I can, get what I get out of working so hard, but at the end of the day, being there for my family, being able to, not miss a sporting event. I don't think my dad ever missed a football or baseball or basketball game.
We should mention that. Sorry to interrupt, but there's a lot of those, I'm sure, because you're one of how many boys in the family?
4 brothers.
You got 4 brothers, so 5.
Or 3 brothers. Excuse me. One of 4 boys.
That's a lot of sports.
A lot of sports.
Oh, yeah. It was and most of us played baseball, basketball, football. So we would go from one sport to the next and then times that by 4. It's I don't know how my parents did it, honestly.
They leaned in. They leaned in like
I guess so. So it's just, we're all spread out pretty good. I mean, my oldest brother I think he's 43. He'll be 44, and my youngest brother's 31. So there's a big age difference.
Yeah, for 4 kids, yeah.
But it was always something, always going to something, running around crazy.
I like that your dad almost showed you like a roadmap on how to have a good life. You're like, he did a good job. I'm assuming you think he probably did a good job with you. Yeah. And now you're trying to maybe follow in the footsteps of a great man, right? I think that we talk about that sometimes on our podcast, having role models or mentors, and what better role models and mentors than our parents sometimes. I love the flexibility that a job can bring. I feel like I have that too, where you can work hard, but you still have time to do other things. And I love the positive attitude. I think that's key. It's like something I think you and I would definitely share in life, because you have all these things going on, and I know the kind of career you have, and certainly this environment is super stressful. It's almost like you do so much so that maybe you can occupy so much time you don't have time to think or stress about anything, right?
You're right. That's a great point. It's when every minute is occupied, you don't, the business that we're in with real estate, you could really dwell on, there's always turns, there's some bad things that happen. You could really dwell on those and let it consume you. But if you just keep pushing forward and not let, that affect you, become a problem solver, then, that stuff will never overtake you.
I love that. I love the lean, and it's like falling forward. Don't be afraid to fail. Keep going. And I just, interesting enough, went through a time in my life where, the holidays came, and, we dealt with some illness, COVID, whatever, colds, no one needs to talk about what we've been going through. But I stopped doing some exercising for a little while. I'm back on track. For all you out there, I am back on track, have been now for a couple weeks. And my state of mind shifted so bad when I wasn't working out. I know you'd mentioned, I think we had such a long conversation before we went on that it's like I'm having a hard time tracking what we talked about, but it doesn't really matter. You did mention that you were doing a marathon.
Yeah. So in 2021, I ran the New York City Marathon. Started training the beginning of the year. The marathon was, I think, November 7th. But going back to your point, in terms of working out, having that set routine, especially in the mornings for, us with 3 kids and a real estate business, and how hectic that gets once you start the day. I always found if I started the day, woke up 5 a.m., got my hour workout in, did my run, it just bled into the rest of the day and kind of snowballed everything to kind of that life you want and to get there. So it's crazy how quick it could go, but it also, when everything clicks, how awesome that can be.
Yeah, we did a little bit of training together leading up to your race, and it was pretty inspiring what you were doing that for and everything. So for the audience, just to know kind of what was the meaning behind why you started training for the New York City Marathon and eventually doing it.
Yeah, so 10 years ago, almost 11 years ago now, I was diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma, which is it's a pediatric cancer in the bone or soft tissue. So I got treated at Sloan Kettering. It was about 6 months of pretty intense treatment. And coming up last year on the 10-year anniversary of that, I wanted to do something to honor the accomplishment of being, people who have had cancer, they know, you know, just a year out, 2 years out, 5 years out, 10 years out, those are big accomplishments. So I wanted to almost give back, definitely give back, and raise money for pediatric cancer through Memorial Sloan Kettering. So I ran the New York City Marathon through Fred's team, which is a pediatric cancer research. 100% of the profits or the proceeds go toward pediatric cancer research. So that really was my motivation for everything. So our goal was to raise $50,000, and we hit it right on the head.
Nice.
$50,000.
50. Wow. That's amazing.
That's incredible.
Actually, pretty awesome story that not a lot of people know, but I'd like to share. So the week of the race, I got invited with my area manager to go to Wisconsin. That's where one of our headquarters is. We also have headquarters in Dallas. And it was basically to meet the executive team. It was like a group of 12 of us. And we spent a couple days with them. And then the last day, we went out to dinner with the executive team, that like kind of a celebration of the last couple days. The CEO of the company. So this is a 10,000 plus employee company, like one of the top 5, I think, non-bank purchase lenders in the nation. So all 50 states, big company. The CEO has dinner with us. And my area manager had mentioned what I was doing, running the New York City Marathon in like 4 days. And he's such a genuine guy, the CEO, knew a lot about us before we even met him. Like really does his research, really cares about his employees. So asking me all these questions, finds out why I'm running, all this stuff. Asked me about fundraising. So I said, at that time we were at like $20,000 for fundraising. And he said, all right, let's see what I could do to help you get to that 50,000. I was like, that sounds great. Get on a plane the next day, fly home, land, get home at like 5. And sitting down for dinner, my wife, 2 days of having 3 kids and like ready to, all right, now the reinforcements are in. So he sends the email out to the whole company. John's at $20,000. Let's see if we can't get him to 50,000. Within 45 minutes, I was up to $35,000. Like the site like shut down kind of for a little bit. Got it back working. So I'm having dinner, get a call. It says Fairway. I'm like, oh, who's this? I really can't be taking a call at. My wife's like, you better probably take that call. She knew what was going on. Get the call, it's him. And he's like, how are we doing with the numbers? And I'm like, we $15,000 in 45 minutes. We've increased it. So he goes, all right, I'll tell you what, we'll see the next couple of days where you get to. Whatever the difference is, I'm going to write a check. I'm going to write a check for the difference. We're going to get you to $50,000. So he said, do not share this with anyone. So I guess I'm sharing it with people now. But he's like, I don't want any fanfare or anything like that. And sure enough, day of the race, we were at like $44,000. Wrote a $6,000 check, got us the $50,000, and that was all the motivation I needed to make sure I finished the race.
You knew you were definitely going to finish that race if you
crazy.
had to crawl.
Oh yeah,
through New York City. Well, that's just unbelievable.
I almost did have to crawl. The mile 16, 17. You go uphill at all, and no matter what training you're doing, your first marathon, it's like, I felt like I was going to take a step and just cramp everywhere, and I'm like, I got to finish this. So it's like survival mode, that last stretch.
I can't even imagine. First of all, kudos to you for being part of an organization. It must feel good to be a part of something like that when you know that your coworkers or, your peers are, willing to support you in something like that. And some of that stuff usually comes from the top down. So, that's awesome to know you're a part of an organization like that. And then secondly, I've never ran a marathon. I ran a half.
Okay.
And I thought I was going to die. I honestly, have you ran one?
I ran that half with you.
Yeah, that's right.
I ran that race with you.
That's right. You did that.
Nick's actually never run a marathon, but he's run
Yeah, but
37 miles.
He's probably he does that on Saturdays.
Yeah.
No, but like for ordinary folk, like I literally, I would imagine you were just driven because of the reason you were doing it. I don't think I could do it because I don't think that my body could handle something like that.
Yeah, you'd be surprised what your body could do with, vigorous training. But yeah, it's, when it comes down to it, like I said, that last stretch, it's the crowds being there like crazy. That motivates you. Just knowing, what everybody else did.
The emotional experience.
Yeah.
Did it bring you back to like treatments and anything like that?
Oh yeah, a pretty cool moment in the race. Probably like that 15, 16 mile mark. We run by Memorial Sloan Kettering. So
wow.
And my brother, yeah, me too. My brother and my dad were there, like waited there.
Right there.
Yeah. Right there.
Were they going during treatments? Were they like?
Oh yeah. So my wife, we weren't even married yet. So we were 3 months away from being married. And she was there every day, basically driving me to the hospital. Most days I would just stay for the day and then go home. But my in-laws would take me, like everybody kind of, it was awesome. Everybody kind of rallied around me and helped out. And like I said, we weren't even married yet.
Kind of solidifies you picked the right person.
Exactly. I know. If you need a test,
right,
I don't recommend it. But if you do,
you get cancer and figure it out.
Yeah, she passed that test pretty good. Yeah. So that moment, like running by there, one of my nurses that I've kept in touch with was there. She lives in the city. It was pretty awesome.
That's crazy. Obviously cancer's touched my life. I lost my mother to cancer. It's funny. It's not funny. In tragedy, sometimes you talk about being positive. My mother was positive. I'm a positive person. It can give you a lot of perspective in life. I'm not sure. I don't know how it affected you, but I know how it affected me, and having someone and losing someone to it that every day is cherished. Like I make sure I'm like, kissing, hugging my kids, trying to be as present. And today with technology and business and so many damn distractions, something like that I have to imagine is it's not imagine, it's life altering. It must shift your whole perspective with life, hopefully in a positive way. I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I definitely was like this before, but it does put things into perspective. It kind of helps you, with small stuff. I mean, small stuff still get to me sometimes, but in the grand scheme of things, it's like you went through this, like
you can do anything.
Yeah. What else is there to? Why worry about this? With all you've been through, why worry about something that's going to pass in a day or in an hour? So it definitely has helped my outlook on things. I like to think I was always kind of like this, but it does. It puts everything into perspective. And also having that positive attitude, I'm convinced, like gets you through these types of situations too. So it's just, it's kind of what I've always prided myself on. And it's just, for me, it's always felt the most comfortable to be this way. So that's kind of always how I wanted to live my life.
Yeah, you've definitely reminded us a little bit of why we actually started. I remember a year ago raising money and doing a race too, more of a challenge, not an official race and everything. And yeah, just reminiscing about it brought me to goosebumps.
And honestly, that was one of my motivating, seeing you and Mike Silvestri do that and the money you guys raised and doing it for such a great cause. That gave me motivation to do what I did. I always kind of wanted to do something on the 10-year anniversary, but seeing you guys do that and, running a part of it with you and being a part of that, a small part of it, it was really motivating. So
any little thing, I mean, no doubt the feat that you accomplished in New York City is unbelievable, but in the grand scheme of things, it's like something so small. You were running, you're training, you're doing healthy things in order to lead up to that day and everything, but it's so minuscule in the grand scheme of things in life. It's like, okay, I'm going to run. That's it. That's one of the main things I told myself when I decided to go public and say I'm going to raise money and then do this challenge. Like, guys, I'm just running. To me, it was natural. It's like I wake up and I do it. So just to be, to show the world that, you can come out and do something that to everyone else looks uncomfortable, but to you, it's like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Hopefully, when people hear about these things,
I don't think running has ever been uncomfortable for you.
Honestly, no, I hate running.
Really?
So
I wish I hated it that much.
It's funny, the act of running, and I've heard tons of professional runners say this. The act of running sucks. The feeling that you get from it right after or the next day, that's what feels good. And it's tough to like put into words that feeling.
It is that. Sometimes I get it during runs. I'll get that like the
dopamine
or the runner's high. That is like a real thing or at least for me.
No, it's legit.
Is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you must be getting really high then.
So high, no one can stop me.
No, but running really is punishing yourself. I mean, you guys probably know this better. I don't remember his name, but was it like Fontaine?
Yeah, Prefontaine.
Prefontaine. It's like he was so good because he was able to withstand pain better than other people.
Yeah.
So it's like you're pushing yourself, just like everything else. You're pushing yourself through pain and discomfort, and in the process, there's good that comes out of that.
Well, that's like the whole thing of the challenge was this guy David Goggins. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does this, and you want to talk pain. The pain that guy puts himself through.
It's insane.
It's like you can't even I can't even put. I read his book.
His stories,
but you can't even like fathom what he does.
No, you can't. You can try,
but you can take pieces of it and the message and apply them to your life. But that guy's crazy.
But what's crazy is guys like him are inspirational and crazy, and their stories are unbelievable. But here we are talking, and your story's inspirational. And then Nick thinks, I just went for a run, and it's like it inspired me to do this. It inspired you. It's like just little things. These conversations can inspire people, or maybe get someone off the couch. Help someone lean in. It's like take on as much as I almost like guys like us take on as much responsibility as you can. You want a good life. It's like, don't look for happiness or like luxury, like take on responsibility, like raise your family, be honest, like do the best you can. And you're telling me this story of your race and how everything comes full circle, and like your father and your brother and a nurse and like your past revisiting your future. It's like, it's amazing to me. It's like everything's interconnected. We talked about this before we went on camera, even though we were, on camera at the time, but it's like, we have these connections, we have these conversations, we realize like we're all in this together. And that's what inspired us to do this is him and I are going on a path that is a great path. We have, beautiful wives, health, we have our children, we have our families, and yet still we have, questions, and we want answers, and we want to figure out how to live our best lives. And by hearing stories like yours, it inspires other people and gives them perspective. Be like, all right, there may be some ups and downs, but this is, what it takes. And that inspiration and listening to these things, I think is so needed, because today we always talk about this with social media and with, all these things going on. I think like real life gets lost in the mix sometimes.
Yeah. And I mean, what you guys are doing is great. You're having different people on talking about their experiences, and people, that's why people read books. That's why, people look and see these inspirational stories. But just hearing everybody's story, everybody has an inspirational story. So getting a chance and putting, people on and getting a chance to hear people's story, and, who knows who it'll affect or what they'll take out of just a conversation and apply it to their life and how it can improve their lives. It's great. I mean, what you guys are doing, this is awesome. Also, just getting out of your comfort zone. I'm sure you guys aren't like me. I'm not in front of the camera 24/7. It's not the most comfortable thing, but it's great that you're getting out of your comfort zone and wanting more for your lives.
Yeah, we can see you once a week, right? Mascolo Monday Mortgage.
Yeah.
Tell the audience about this.
Mascolo Mortgage Monday. I think it's
nothing like start on the right foot in the beginning of the week.
So, like I alluded to before, in March of 2021, I'd been with Fairway for a couple years already, and opened my own branch in Ridgefield. And in 2021 for our company was like the year of the brand. So again, leaned into that, created the Mascolo mortgage team, Mascolo Mortgage Monday. Just basically, it started out as weekly videos. Now I manage a couple guys. But really just to get in front of, the best way to get in front of a large group of people is through video on social media. It's, a necessary evil, if you will, social media, just to kind of promote my business, let people know what I do and how I can help them. And, again, if you could, some people have seen some of those videos and pull out one or two things that could help them, that maybe saves them a couple $1,000, or prevents them from going down the wrong path on a mortgage with XYZ company that they found on the internet. So it's my way of helping my business, but also giving back to friends, family, any referral partners.
Well, you're educating people.
Exactly.
Right.
And, it's funny, you may not remember this, but when we were doing our little deal, because I have used you to purchase purchase real estate before, I was like, oh, your job's interesting. Like, do you like what you do? And you told me, like, yeah, I love it. I work with people. I help them. And we've had real estate folk on before. Yep. And you are helping people through some of the most important decisions, biggest decisions of their lives.
Yeah, that's what I like about it the most. First of all, I would never have worked not like a 9 to 5 or a set amount of hours where, all right, you got to clock in, clock out. That was never going to be a job for me. I don't mind working 9:30 on a Friday at night. I don't mind, taking a morning off to spend with my kids either. So like having that was always going to be what I wanted to do. But yeah, I mean, every day is different, you don't know what the next day is going to bring, good or bad, but I love that because the same thing every day, it just gets monotonous and boring. And I look forward to like that challenge every day, and problem solving. That's like my biggest thing. So, to be able to have someone who I've worked with people who have gotten turned down by 2 other lenders, and they've come to me, and now it's like, all right, this is their dream house, or this is like they have their life savings, and they want to buy this house. How do I make that happen? That's like the most fulfilling thing to me. So, for my job or for other people's jobs where it's selling, and it's like you may or may not need this product, but I'm going to sell you and tell you why. It's like the opposite of what we do. We just everybody wants a house. Everybody wants to buy a house or save money on a refinance. And I get to provide that for them and, do my best to educate them and help them out the best way I can. It's like the most fulfilling thing I could do.
Yeah, we always talk about having a teacher's heart. Besides the stories that we get during this, we always try to have guests on that are teaching people stuff. We're obviously trying to teach people how to have a better life, really selfishly trying to teach ourselves by having all these conversations, how to have a better life. And interesting, you give all this experience and this free information, but I always find that people that do that get it back tenfold.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like you're giving stuff away and maybe someone's using that with another loan officer or going to a bank.
Happens, it happens all the time. I sat down with a customer a couple weeks ago, and this is probably one of the only times it's ever happened. At the end of our conversation, we had like an hour, basically mortgage consultation. She said, all right, how much do I owe you? And I said, no, there's no fee for that or anything like that. And it made me think like, yeah, there's some professions that do that, but that person could go to the next, mortgage lender and just do their mortgage through them. But like, that's not why I do it. But I know if I do a good job, she'll tell 10 of her friends who will use me for their mortgage. So, there's that give and take. But I just thought it was funny that how much do I owe you for your time? Like, Well, now that you got me thinking,
it just shows the value you have, right? It's like almost that it was an expectation. I've gotten that too, and it's like humbling, and at the same time,
you gave her a bill though.
No, I'm a transactional guy, so for the most part, it's if someone calls me and I'm not usually giving legal advice unless I'm giving legal advice, right? But I'm a firm believer in, trying to help people, guide them. And, if they use me, great. I've worked a long time building my reputation, trying to be the best I can be. And when I can, offer guidance to people, it's with good intentions. And, sometimes they'll be your client and sometimes they won't.
Exactly. And when you're genuine about that, you painted it perfectly. When you give that in a genuine manner, you always get it back. So it's like if you have trust in that's all you can do.
Yeah, we talk about this redundantly, Nick and I, about being selfish sometimes as being selfless. Like, the more you give, the more you're getting back. And it goes to reciprocity in our society and our communities. Like we talked about before, we're all intertangled, one day my nurse, that the person I'm treating well might be my nurse at Sloan Kettering.
Exactly.
So it's just, I try to teach my kids that it's, and we did have them on and they sounded like maybe they're getting some of it, Nick, right? The golden rule, treat others as you want to be treated. And I think these things are important. And I think sometimes in our society, especially as of late, I think people are worried about instant gratification and have lost patience and maybe lost some of the, the old school values. But I think those are important.
Oh, yeah.
How are you managing, obviously you're balancing a lot between careers and your career and your family life and all that stuff. How are you managing social? You're obviously managing social media well through business. How are you dealing it with kids? Is it an issue yet? Or?
No, so it's not an issue. I have some pretty, I would say, strong feelings on that. Like I said before, social media is like a necessary evil. Like I'm a little bit more old school, I think, when it comes to, and we'll see how this evolves as they get older, but like they don't need a phone until they're in high school. Or if they do have a phone, they don't have a data plan until high school. Like I'll give them a flip phone. Hopefully
just a way to contact you.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, 7 years, maybe flip phones will be back by the time my oldest is in high school, but like that's all they need it for at the right times when there's a maturity level. So maybe it's not, high school. Maybe it's at a different age. I'm all about giving them their freedoms and letting them, explore things. But at the same time, I don't want that to infiltrate them or change them.
Yeah, you're their parent. You have to protect them.
Yeah.
There's too many evils out there.
Yeah.
I don't know what context you were saying before, but I remember you hearing you say like dopamine hit. It's like,
the runner's high.
The runner's high, yeah. So you're probably like-minded as me. I often think that I want to push it as long as possible. I don't know if I'm being naive with the way things are, but it's so much stimulation.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta guard against that. Even young, like with like the tablets and stuff, like controlling that and not letting that get out of hand.
The information and all that they're getting. It's a scary times. And growing up with your siblings and I, from what I know of you already before even talking, very into athletics. I grew up that way. I'm really trying to push my kids to be active in sports. I'm a soccer guy, but if they play basketball, baseball, whatever, as long as they're outside, I'm going to my daughter's ballet. Like I never thought I'd like that. I actually like.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, seeing your kids perform, on stage or on the athletic field is like, it's awesome. It's so rewarding.
And the one thing about what you said to me that struck a nerve is like keeping busy. Sometimes my wife and I are like, we have them doing too much. And that's kind of like where her and I have arguments sometimes. We're doing too much. We're going from baseball field. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know. I think sometimes that's probably the best thing we could be doing.
With some of their energy. I know my son, he needs to have like a sport every season to just get it out of his system,
So like the downtime, it's like maybe we don't need downtime because it's like what's what's occupying the downtime, It's like, that's why
I think
like
there's
living
like
in
a
Connecticut
balance,
in
but
winter.
yeah, exactly. There's a balance, but at the same time, you know, I think getting them involved as much as you can, you know, keeps them out of trouble. I mean, the age that our kids are at, I don't think we have to necessarily worry about trouble, but it sets up for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm slightly behind a little bit. My oldest is just, you know, hitting the soccer field a little bit, but that's just, you know,
Nice.
learning how to touch the ball. And you're right. It's you have to keep them busy no matter what. Because I can know the difference when I come home, whether or not he's had a energetic day or not. It's like you can tell. So I kind of agree with you, Steve. And not to go against your wife or anything, but the busier the better. It's like there can't be too much for them. What are they? They'll fall down on the field and take a nap if they're tired.
Yeah.
You know, other than that, get them out there.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can relate. It's like triage. It's like divide and conquer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We got to bring in like relatives in, like the grandfather, grandmother's bringing one to one place.
Especially with 3, it's like zone defense, you know?
Yeah, exactly. You're exactly. You're not man to man.
No.
But, so that is tough sometimes because it's like you want that, you know, that the family to be together as much as you can, but it's, you know, but
same time, if one of them has to go with their grandparents for the day and while the other 2 are doing whatever, then it's not a bad trade.
It's not a bad thing. You have any, family kind of routines that you guys, I'm a big proponent of trying to like have dinner together and talking about.
We try that and we're mostly successful, especially when we plan ahead. We'll I'd say at least 4 out of the 5 nights during the week we'll have dinner together. Fridays we'll have like we call it a pizza picnic and like a movie. So we've been really religious about that. So yeah, having that dynamic and kind of bringing everybody together, even if you know someone's running off to the table at one time, that's really important for us. So that's where it goes back to the. You know, not having that 9 to 5 because it's nice. You know, I'll get home 5:30, and I'll know for the next 2.5 hours my kids are going to be up and they're going to be, you know, wanting. I haven't seen them all day, so I'll secure that time for them, knowing that hey, when everybody's asleep at 9 o'clock, I could log on, set myself up for the next day, and then be able to take care of them in the morning to get them into school and things like that. So that kind of just goes back to like that family dynamic of making sure we're all together as much as we possibly can with how hard that is with the jobs that we have.
Why don't you take us back up a little bit? You mentioned 2021 being the busiest year for the business itself that you've been in, or just like your company? Yeah,
so the 2020 and 2021 in the mortgage industry and like the history is probably like definitely a top 5 both years, top 5 ever. Like early 2000s probably has a couple of those years in like that top 5, but as a company, we definitely, our company's been in existence for 25 years. So 2021 was the best year by far the company had, so personally as well.
So with that in mind and having a 3rd child, what was that like?
It's pretty crazy. I mean, my wife is awesome in terms of taking the kind of knowing what I have to do to be successful in my job and letting me do it. Now, it almost made it easier in terms of being able to do a lot of the stuff at home. So like I'd go into my office, but you know, in a moment's notice, I could kind of help out a hand here or there. But she's always been, you know, in the 13 years I've known her, she's always known, you know, it's a job of, I got to answer this call. Excuse me. It's a job of, I got to answer this call. That could be my next deal. I mean, I was answering emails on my honeymoon in Bora Bora. Like, I tried that. I probably like
service
one day.
out there.
Yeah, there was.
You got to go somewhere without service, man.
Yeah, I tried. I mean, you can't get really much more remote than that. But basically, she knows if we go on vacation, I'll be able to take a call. But we can go on vacation anytime. You know, I don't have to like put in for time off. So like I said, she's been great in terms of understanding that. But at the same time, she knows that I'm always gonna like put our family first as well. So it's a balance, but it's something that through Fairway and kind of growing my team, I've been able to evolve over the last couple years and not, take those numbers higher and higher without, sacrificing more of my time, because that's what it all comes down to, right? The time.
Yeah, you jumped into a nice segue into something I would love to pick your brain on, because it sounds like you have a great partnership. Nick and I think we both have good partnerships with our wives, and I think we have a good partnership here too. But how are you lacking in the department of being a good husband, or are you doing a good job?
Did she talk to you?
No,
Yeah. She called.
we had our wives on the podcast, and my wife.
Really? That's dangerous.
Yeah, it was dangerous. My wife was complaining about how the podcast was like the first date we had in like a year.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's like between 3 kids, like you said, a tsunami for our industry, right? I obviously do real estate closing, so it's been crazy. It's been hard. And my wife and I have recently and have always been talking, about prioritizing and trying to find time for our relationship, because it's like mom and dad, our jobs, taking care of the home, me doing the work stuff. And, not that we're losing sight of our relationship, because we're strong, but, we're not tending to it. And at some point, for me, I don't, maybe I'm being naive, don't ever think it'll be an issue, but it's a concern of certainly my wife's and of mine that we need to do more, or at least I need to do more of, I feel like,
how you adjusted that to I need to do more.
Like, the priority, it's like like providing for our families, spending time with our families. It's like time with your wife. Like,
especially with young kids. I mean, that's like the perfect question for me, having, a year-old son and our third, and kind of that gets, it does sometimes get put on the back burner, especially early on. Yeah. But, I think we try to, and it's been tough this year, but we try to, prioritize each other in terms of like date nights, like every other week, or I think if you have a set plan to do those things, it's better than just saying, oh yeah, we'll get around to that, and then the next thing you know, it's 6 months and you haven't been out of the house, together, just the two of you. So I think prioritizing that, I think it's a lot easier said than done.
Have a game plan.
Yeah.
Well, you got to be a strong team, because both people have to agree on it too. So if you have that, it's
Yeah, and when both of you, like you mentioned, both of you have talked about prioritizing your relationships. Like when you have that, that's when it will work. It's when like one is, I'm just too busy, I can't, like I know he's there, or I know she's there. So it's like you almost take them for granted. But when you have that like common goal of, all right, let's get back to us, because it started out as just us. Right. And that was great. Yes. But let's, not lose sight of that, because you don't want to be, 15 years from now when it is just the two of you again, and like, who are you? Like that's, it's always crazy to me, but you could see how that can get lost in the shuffle with some people.
Yeah. No, I
absolutely.
That's why I think it's important to talk about it. And it's like, it's not an issue now, and you don't want it to become an issue. So it's like, I like that plan for it. I think that's, that's the way to go, to make sure, because you could have all the best intentions in the world. Exactly. If you don't put it, it's like work. You don't put it on the schedule. Yep, exactly. you're in trouble. Exactly.
It's like saying, oh, I'm going to run the marathon.
And then like the week before, and then the week before, be like, all right, I got to start running.
When you're supposed to be tapering.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man.
Or just take a lot of vacations, right?
Or never stop training.
Yeah,
Like,
never
you know-
stop training. I need to learn how to do that.
What do you mean never stop training?
You
Just-
never stop.
yeah.
You don't stop, can't stop.
Yeah.
You don't
Well-
look like you ever stop training.
No.
I stop all the time.
Yeah, I start and stop. That's my biggest issue.
Well, we know each other well through training.
Yeah.
You know, we met at a gym.
That's why we talk in spurts.
What's your fitness routine? Is it working for you? Is it?
So right now, especially having a son who doesn't exactly sleep through the night
Oh,
totally,
I remember those
my fitness routine is like, all right, get up at 3 a.m., get him out of his crib, put him back.
Change his diaper.
Because like you said, literally, if I don't work out in the morning, it's good luck.
Yeah.
You know? But usually my workout routine, so I read this book, it's called The Miracle Morning, and I would suggest it to anybody if you haven't checked it out. And it's this guy, it's this whole story. I won't get into the whole story, but basically he wanted to like change his life. And how he did that was through these, what he called savers. And each letter stood for something. And he created a morning routine, like say an hour out of the day. And it doesn't have to be in the morning. It's just like carving out that time. But as we talked about, the morning is like the easiest time to do that. And coming into a routine where you're exercising for a certain amount of time, you're meditating, you're writing in a journal every day. You're having affirmations. So you like really jumpstart your morning. So I really try to stick with that. And life gets in the way and it gets tough. But when I'm doing that and I am consistent with it, it just goes into my business, into my relationships, into everything, and just makes life that much better.
Yeah, it mirrors a lot of, I think, the things that Nick and I kind of do and talk about. One thing you've mentioned that I haven't heard mentioned in a podcast before, but it's something I've done, not religiously, but on and off, affirmations. I've meditated, try to do that. I think the morning's the most important thing. It's like get your wins right away. And like small things become huge things. How do you I used to think that was kind of weird.
Yeah.
The
No
affirmations,
doubt
and then you
about
get
it.
used to it, and then you do it, and it's like, wow, this is just like journaling. I think is almost as important, if not more. How do you do your affirmations? Are you doing them out loud in your head? As you
Usually I'll be up at a certain time where really nobody else is, because I agree with you. It's a little strange at first. But basically you're just like not reassuring yourself, but you're like, yeah, I am these things. Yeah. And then it really goes into your body and it comes out like, all right, these are all the things that I am, that I'm doing. Like, oh, maybe I know that already, but maybe it's not top of mind. So to bring them every day, and then you like go into the day and go into, talking with people, and it just like comes out.
I think it's so powerful because it obviously shows how insecure we are, because it's
Absolutely.
like, what's wrong with that? Like I used to do it as a guided, because I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah. And then now I know how to do it. It's like, I'm honest. I have integrity. I'm a good person. Yeah. It's like to just say it's not weird to me anymore, but it was at one point. And it's like, why is it weird for me to say I'm a good person? Exactly. I want to be honest. I have integrity. It's like, but it's like, just remind yourself. I think it's important to remind ourselves of what we want, who we are. I think once you're grounded in who you are as a person, and if you're honest with yourself, as hard as that can be at times, I think it helps. I try to be as honest as I can with myself, and it sometimes hurts to do that because you open yourself up to a lot of what you're not doing right. Yeah.
Self-awareness is like one of the biggest keys, I think, to having that like healthy mindset and being able to realize, all right, maybe I'm not the greatest at this, or but also knowing, hey, I do these things well, and that kind of goes back to the affirmations. But yeah, self-awareness is
I need to improve, and I can improve. Yeah. And if you're not honest with yourself, then you're not going to improve, because you're going to just pretend like you're something you're not, which we all get caught up in. I feel like on this journey of self-discovery and doing this and talking to people and hearing how they do certain things and the quirky things, and some of them are things that I do, it just reassures me that I'm on the right path and encourages me to keep going. I think the hardest thing about becoming a better person, a better husband, a better parent, a better, mortgage broker or attorney or working at a gym or whatever you're doing.
Realtor.
Well, he's got many hats. The biggest hat he has is vacationer.
The biggest hat he has is a sombrero, not a sombrero.
It's a sombrero.
Yeah.
But it's like just staying the course. And then when you're doing this and you're going on these journeys to become better, the hardest and scariest part, at least for me, is that there's a regression, right? I don't know if you've dealt with this before, and maybe in fighting cancer or becoming better in your business or in child rearing, like as you're trying to get better, like as you take 2 steps forward, sometimes you take 3 steps back, and it can like throw you off.
That's why the consistency is like the thing I fight the most.
Yeah,
and
that's Nick's
What do you mean
thing.
fight? Struggle with?
Yeah, because I know what I need to do. I know if I do this every day, like I'll be successful. But at the same time, it's easier said than done, and it's just as easy to get out of that or get into a rut because maybe it's too cold out or it's the winter. I don't feel like doing that.
Or it's too warm in your bed.
Yeah, exactly. So consistency has always been like my biggest fight, I would say.
Yeah. If I ever had to answer the question of why do you do this or how do you do it, it's always like you don't think about it too much. You just do it. So, for example, you wake up, your bed's nice and warm. You don't want to get out of it for whatever you have to do, whether you have to get right to work, get on a call, answer an email, or work out. It's like you want that. There's got to be that drive in you to want to do it, to fight the feeling of warm bed. Like it comes down to getting uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's all it is.
I was gonna say that.
It's so simple. What you think?
It really is.
If you're not uncomfortable, like the reason we started this podcast, you're not really living life.
No. Yeah,
You're really
you're just like
life isn't fair.
Yes.
Life is very unfair, actually, if you think about it. And life's not about comfort because you're not going to grow from being comfortable, just doing the easy things.
No, it goes back to that the book, David Goggins. He makes a living on being uncomfortable. So, and it, like when you're comfortable, you're maybe not progressing like you want to. So, yeah, getting uncomfortable in all different kinds of fields is the only way to grow.
And we mentioned too, sorry to cut you off, 80-20. So 20% of the time you can kind of be comfortable or forgive yourself if you were comfortable, but 80% of the time, be consistent. Try to at least be uncomfortable, one step at a time.
And, we always talk about, the good life being a life of balance, but, and as we have more of these conversations, other themes unfold, which is like, as you're climbing and you start to get lackadaisical because you're comfortable, it's like, you know how much business I did in the last 2 years? Like I made some money. My wife's happy with me. The house is looking good. The kid. And then it's like, if you don't keep climbing, you may stay there and that's fine, but you could also fall down. So it's like, there's so many perils. So it's like,
if you're staying there, you're basically falling down.
It's like, keep going, keep moving, try to get better. It's like climb the mountain in other ways. And that's why this is so important to me, is because we're having these conversations and we're talking to people who are motivating us in different ways and teaching us, and telling us their story, and that's inspirational. And that is what gives me the incentive to become better, because, sometimes you do get stuck in a rut, you get lazy. I mean, you get sick, and then you're like, you don't go back to the gym, and it's like, no. That's why we got to create all these fail safes. Set your alarm, get your gym clothes ready.
Just run with Nick, and then you're.
I'll text you in the morning. I'll call you. I don't care.
Yeah,
I'll come knock on your door.
That's death.
But honestly, I really haven't had to do that, too much. I'll text people. I'll call people. No, you show up. You show
early
up.
in the morning.
I've had people blow me off, and you know what?
Geez.
To me, it's like whatever. But because I'm still getting my workout, and like I don't care. You're only hurting yourself.
Yeah.
No, no, but for the record audience, like John has showed up every time he said he would.
Nice.
Even with a brand new baby in the house,
You got to just show up half the time.
Yeah,
that's it.
That is half the battle, honestly.
Well, it's being responsible for yourself. Like what kind of example are you setting for your kids?
Yeah.
or
absolutely.
anyone else
They see
said.
that.
Yeah.
They pick up on that stuff.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
How much of a motivation with your kids is what you got from, watching your parents?
Yeah, a lot of that is, taking the good that, kind of the life they provided for you, wanting to like pass that on with your own like ideas with it. It definitely, comes into play on a daily basis for me. Just trying to basically give them, I think of it as give them the life my parents gave me. I don't think of it like give them things that I never had. It's more your time. It's more the things that you liked about your life and that you value, passing that on, and guiding them and not letting them get, lost in the world that, if you look around can kind of get you off track.
Mm-hmm.
I think we get off track. So you mentioned that, and it made me think about something I just had a conversation on. I think we get ourselves off track sometimes for the stupidest reasons. It's like there's some more, my parents had humble beginnings and they worked hard and they gave me a life I can only dream of. And they gave me the opportunity to go a step further where, financially I probably do more than them. And sometimes you get lost with, I want to give my kids things that I never had. And then I reflect back on my life and I think about the best times I had in my life, and it wasn't anything material.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like the time I spent with my parents here or the time I was with my cousins. And I'm like, that's what I need to start focusing on giving my kids, is like, give them me. That's what they want. You said, your dad was at every game. Like my mother, while she was alive, my dad never missed. Maybe, I don't think he ever missed a game. Maybe he missed one game once because I was in college playing somewhere. I don't remember. It might have been Portland and the flight got delayed and he couldn't get out there. So like, it was not because of something. Like he never missed a game of mine that he could be at. Right.
Yeah.
And I think those are the things I want to do for my kids. And I think sometimes we get our priorities screwed up.
Yeah, definitely the materialistic things that the kids don't even like realize or care about. But it goes back to, with business and our particular businesses, that gives you freedom too, though. So like pushing, to me that work-life balance and like pushing is great and getting opportunities for your kids, but it's got to be opportunities for your family. So really, like I joked about a little before, it's all about time. Yeah. So we're really just working to, earn a good living and to get ourselves more time with our families, more time with the things we want to do. So, that's where it goes back to understanding, the grind of what we have to do and knowing the end goal. But it is about the end goal and the balance there and not just grind.
Right. The sacrifice has got to be worth it because you can get caught in that loop where you're grinding just to get, more and more and more. Exactly. And then what are you doing?
You just get lost in it.
Yeah, then you just lost your whole life.
Lose sight of, what you're doing it for.
Look what I gave you, kids. Like, we just wanted you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true.
And before you know it, you can't take any vacations.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're always revert back to our expert vacationer when we need to. We'll just ask Nick, what's the key? What do we got to do? Just put it on the schedule.
Are you a Florida citizen? Because I am licensed in Florida, just for everybody out there.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know if I meet anyone down there.
And you will.
I love the experience of getting away from, the normal daily life. It rejuvenates you. And that's what I was able to do a couple of weeks ago. Audience, that's why I'm catching crap right now.
Well, I mean.
But it's all about the good life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen. How you living the good life? Are you living the good life?
Yeah, I think so. The way I kind of envision my life growing up, I would say is very similar to how, take out the, being a professional athlete or
all your dreams as a young kid.
Exactly. When it came down to it, I realized like what I wanted to do. I think I'm in large part doing everything I want to, and I'm enjoying it. So for me, the good life is just being with my family day to day, being in a job where I love and love to help people, and just trying to enjoy every single day that I can.
What are some quick tips you can give us, because we're always wanting to learn, and the audience, like when you get stressed, when something comes up and you just want to, rip your hair out or whatever, what are some tricks that you have personally? Do you have any?
Yeah, no, I think, and again, easier said than done, doesn't always work, but the instant reaction is always going to be worse than just like taking a step back. It's with an email. Never send an email, never send a text right after you get, say, bad news or hear something bad. When your kids do something, you can't always take a step back. But it is true. It's like if you just think about the situation, like assess it, it's never as bad as if you just react to it and, blow up or scream. And it's always going to make it worse. Whereas if you just assess the situation, say, all right, this is what happened. Let me think about this. It goes back to like that problem solving, or like in my business, if I got a piece of information, I just went and told everybody involved, that does nobody good a lot of times. It's if I can solve it, move on. That's my first thing. And just thinking about the reaction first and assessing is, to me, will lead you down to a path that, will make everything, I don't want to say better, but it'll diffuse a lot of the situation.
I love that. I think that's
it is very easier said than done.
I think that's great advice. It's like,
but practice makes perfect, because
exactly.
I definitely, that's helped me over the past couple of years, is that knowing that, overreacting, getting mad is only going to make it worse. And something I like to internalize and really think like I have it so much better than, 6 billion people in the world, let's say, like most of the world.
It's true.
So,
yeah, absolutely.
Like,
when you can put things in that moment into perspective,
exactly,
that's how you're going to be able to handle a situation way better than if you just fly off the handle.
Yeah.
I love that advice. And what's heartbreaking for me is that I feel like I have that patience and I have that self-control and 80% of my situations. And then the 20% that I don't, I feel like sometimes it's with my own family.
Yeah.
And it's like, shame on me for taking out my stress on my kids or my wife and overreacting to something. And most of the time it's stupid stuff.
Yeah.
But the big stuff I compose. And it's like,
I know that's the thing. It's like it's almost like they're the closest to you. So it's like the easiest
take it out on the ones you love.
Yeah, exactly.
Your parents when they're, it's like.
But at the same time, it's like if I just put things into perspective and say, all right, these are big problems. This is not a big problem. Let's just handle it. Then
and they're the most deserving of our patients.
Exactly.
So
you're right.
But these are the conversations where you can I listen to you and I'm like, yeah, I got to be better about doing that. And then sometimes I am,
Yeah. Hey, as long as we're trying to get better every day, that's, you can't really ask for much more. So,
John, you're the reason we have this show, and you're the reason we do this. Is my favorite. I love all. So
I'm your favorite guest, is what you're trying to say.
I love all of our guests
thus far,
including your kids and your wives.
But I love. I feel like we get great stuff from all of our guests. So far, every guest we've had on to me has been a pleasurable experience. And after I love it, and then when I watch the video back, I'm like, I'm so glad Nick and I are on this journey together. I think it's
shout out to the editor.
Yes, he does a fantastic job. I think we're on to something, and even if we're not, I love that we're doing this. I can't see us not doing this for a long time. But when I have conversations with people that are of like mind and in a similar experience to me, it just is that much more important, because again, like I said, selfishly, I don't know what Nick's motivation was, but my motivation was I want to be better, period. And by having conversations with people from all walks of life and seeing what works with them, how are they living? First of all, what's their good life? How are they living their good life is only going to give me tools and ammunition to live a better life for myself. And selfishly, that's what I'm doing. And I think in an unselfish way, I think we're providing that for other people, because this conversation people will listen to, and I'm 100% certain people will get something out of it, especially dads raising 2 to 3 kids with a wife. Like they're going to get something out of this conversation. There's no doubt in my mind. So thank you for providing information, inspiration, sharing your story with us and our audience. I hope one day to have you back. We took up way too much of your time. I looked at time. We've been talking forever, but you were awesome.
All my kids should be sleeping. So
right. Wait till they get in bed.
It's truly great.
You'll get home. You can have a beer with us.
Did your wife buzz you and say there's
you want to go Rogan and we could do a 3-hour? Is that what you want to do?
I'm gonna get home and they're gonna all wake up. So that's the problem.
It was awesome to have you. Tell everyone where they can find you. Shout out to Fairway, all that good stuff.
Yep. So again, John Mascolo, Fairway Independent Mortgage. I am in Ridgefield, Connecticut. Licensed in Connecticut, New York, Florida, Massachusetts, and New Jersey. I'll give it. So my website's super easy. It's johnmascolo.com. You can go there, check out the reviews that I've had with customers I've worked with, and also apply for a mortgage if you want to do that as well. So thanks,
and you
guys.
can call him up for free advice. You know he's not going to charge you.
Yep.
Now you know. And if he
don't
does,
have to bring your checkbook.
check out the show notes, the description. We'll have all that good stuff down there, and we'll tag Johnny Boy in our podcast.
And please don't forget to like and subscribe. Obviously, our show is about reaching other people and spreading good information and inspiration to as many people as we can. So please don't forget to do that. I know you're watching the video and you're not subscribed, so just do it. Come on. Please.
Yeah, hit the button. I mean,
Like
what do you
and
have to
subscribe.
lose?
Come on.
I mean,
Exactly.
it's just going to show up on your feed. You can ignore
You're
it.
going to see 2 good-looking guys every time you log in. So
I appreciate that. Today
wrong
you
with
get to
that?
see 3 good-looking guys. You're welcome.
Don't make us pay Zuckerberg just to get in your face on social media. We want to keep doing this for free.
All right. Good night.
Peace.